Write expressions. So these problems are kind of like mini word problems to a point. They basically will write things out, and you need to write a mathematical expression for what is written out. So a few of the key things that you need to be aware of when it comes to that with translating verbal phrases. The operation that's involved or the words that you're looking for is going to be the for addition, some of the keywords, and then I'm going to show you what an example of that looks like. So the expression itself is something like sum plus total more than increased by and so the way that that's going to end up looking is if it says something like a number x a number x plus 10, we would write that as x plus 10 like that. Yes.
Wait, you have to do notes, right?
Huh?
Do you have to do notes? Are these notes, like, you have to do them?
I would greatly recommend you write these down.
Okay.
If I put something on the board, I feel that it's important, and so you should be writing it down. Just extend that real quick. Okay. All right, the next one is subtraction phrases. That might look like the difference, less than, minus, decrease by, and so this could just say something like a number m decreased by 4, and that would be m minus 4. Multiplication is the next one. This one could be, it'll say times, product, multiplied by. Another one that the book will sometimes use, but we don't see this one as much, is of, like literally just the word of, which means to multiply. So if you were going to see of, it's probably going to say like, 2/3 of a number, which just means to multiply. But otherwise, it'll probably say something like a number y times 3, which is just going to be 3y. And then the last operation that we would have is division. And so you're looking for words like quotient, divided by, divided into, so this could be something like a number n divided by 2, and that would be n over 2, or you can write it as n with the little division symbol 2, but we will typically use this notation here with the fraction. Okay, that's all of those. Another thing we'll see in this section are rates. And a rate is a fraction that compares two quantities measured in different units. So have y'all ever seen this when you've been riding in the car?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Miles per hour.
So that's a rate. Okay, so miles per hour is how it would be written. So it's a fraction that's comparing two quantities with different units. So that's an example of that. So we'll have some problems that'll, potentially talking about like a car traveling or something like that. It'll tell you how many miles it goes and how much time, and we just determine what the rate that it's traveling by is. So let's jump into some examples of all of this stuff. So this says to translate the verbal phrase into an expression. So number 4, the product of 6 and a number y. So what is my operation here, and how do you know?
Multiplication.
Why?
Because it says product.
Yep, so this says product. So I'm going to be multiplying. And so this is going to end up being 6 times y. Just write it like that. See, number 6 says 50 divided by a number h. So what is my operation here, and what tells you that? Yep, dividing, because it says divided by. So how would I write this one?
50 over h.
Yep, 50 over h. Let's see, 8. 3 less than the square of, oh wait, I lied. That's not number 8. We're just going to jump and do number 10. That's number 10, and we'll come back to 8. 3 less than the square of a number p. So this one is one that we did not talk about. It wasn't in the little table that we did, but this says less than. So what does that imply I'm going to be doing? So that says subtraction. But it also says the square of. So what does that mean I'm going to be doing? Square what? Yep. So 3 less than the square of a number p. And so this one is p squared minus 3. Do we understand why it's that and not this?
Is it square?
Yeah.
That's not why it's not that way. Because this says 3 less than the square of that number, which means we have to take that number and subtract 3. Okay? So that's why I'm going to get rid of this so that way you don't get confused. Okay, back to 8 now, since I clearly can't read in order. The sum of 15 and a number x. So what am I doing with this one and why?
Adding.
Why?
So it's the sum.
Yep, so it's a sum of, so I am adding, so this is going to be 15 plus x. Let's see, 12, 5 more than 3 times a number w. So what do I have going on in this one? Why?
Multiplication.
No, it's adding.
It's adding.
So
It's on the adding list.
more than implies adding. But what else does it say? Times. So that means there's 2 different things happening here. It's 5 more than 3 times a number. Okay, so that implies from order of operations, I need to do the 3 times a number first. So it's going to be 3 times w, and it says 5 more than that, so plus 5. All right, any questions about these ones before they start throwing extra words in, like days of the week and stuff like that? It's basically just extra unnecessary information in the problem, that you're doing the same thing as this.
I don't want to know Sundays like addition or something.
Okay, so I'm going to jump down to 15 through 21. It says to write an expression for the situation. So we're still writing the expression, but it just depends on what the problem says. So 16 says number of pages of a 5-page article left to read if you've read P pages. Okay, so this is just, it's the same thing. There's a lot of extra words here, okay, but it's basically saying the same thing as the ones that we've been doing. Okay, so you have an article that's 5 pages long, and it wants to know how many you have left to read if you've read P pages, where P is the number of pages you've read, is what that means. So how would I write this one? You say it.
5 minus p.
Yep, 5 minus P. We understand that one? See why it is that? Okay. All right, 18. The amount you spend if you buy a shirt for $20 and jeans for J dollars. What operation do I need for this one? Adding. Yep, and so that's going to end up giving me 20 plus J. The number of hours in M minutes. Any ideas about this one? Dividing. Do you know how to set it up?
Hours like above the line and like I forgot the word for it.
So this one is a little bit weird in how it's given to us just because of what it's asking. So the number of hours in M minutes. So we're going to have the number of minutes on top. We are dividing though. And then on the bottom, how many minutes are in an hour? 60. So 60 is going on the bottom. So that one requires you to know a little bit about, obviously, some basic conversion units to be able to do that one. But still not too bad. All right, any questions on those before we move on to rates? Cool. Have y'all done these before? Seen these before, something similar?
I don't remember, but it's not too hard.
All right. Find the unit rate in feet per second. Okay, so that means they want us to change whatever units are given to feet per second. So 22 gives us 300 yards in 1 minute. So I'm going to go ahead and teach you a little trick that you probably haven't learned yet, but once you get up to like high school science classes, you're going to do more of, and if you continue on in math, you'll do more of as well. It's just a little bit of an easier way to set up conversion problems because I'm trying to get to feet per second. That's my goal. So that's what I want to get to is feet per second. So if you continue this fraction bar on down and you put this little line here, so my classes call it a tic-tac-toe board, we're going to do all of our conversions at once so that we make sure that our units are correct. So how many feet are in a yard? 3. So I'm going to put 3 feet in 1 yard like that. And so now when I look at the units, the yards cancel and I'm left with feet on top. Now, I have minutes on the bottom. How many seconds are in a minute? 60. So I'm going to put minutes on the top because I need those units to cancel. So 1 minute is 60 seconds. And so now minutes are going to cancel. And so when it's all said and done, what you do is you multiply the numbers on the top and you divide by the numbers on the bottom. So what I'm left with is 300 times 3 divided by 60, and then feet per second. So how do I multiply that? Or like, Do y'all know the shortcut trick to do this? So if you have numbers that are being divided or, just divided, like top and bottom like that, then what we can do if they have a 0 at the end, we can actually just go through and cross out a 0. So at this point, I would be left with 30 times 3 divided by 6 to make it a little bit easier. Now what is that going to give me?
90 over 6.
So that gives me 90 over 6, and can I reduce that any farther?
I object. No.
66,
Yeah.
72, 78, 84.
Yes, you can.
So what is that going to reduce to?
15.
15.
Oh.
And then we would need to put feet per second on there because that's what it wants with the units. All right, 24. 180 miles in 2 hours. And again, I'm trying to get to feet per second. So what conversions do I need to do? I have miles and hours, and I need to get to feet and seconds.
How many miles do you get?
Well, so right now they've given it to me as how many miles in 2 hours. So I need to do, I need to get it in feet and seconds.
So you have to find out how many feet are in a mile and how many seconds are in a mile.
So how many feet are in a mile?
1,580.
5,000 something.
It is 5,000 something. Does anybody know what it is?
5,280?
Yep, 5,280. So we put the miles on the bottom. So 1 mile. Okay, and do y'all understand why I'm like putting it like, or how I'm determining if it's going on the bottom or the top?
No.
So let me write this before, and then I'll go through and explain it.
I thought it was just to, cancel it out.
Well, exactly. That is why.
Oh.
So if you go back and look at this one, when I was determining, I started with 300 yards in 1 minute, okay, and then I asked you how many feet were in a yard, so I wrote that down. But I needed to make sure that yards disappeared, and so to do that, I needed to cancel yards. So I had to put the yards on the bottom so that I could cross them out. When I had minutes on the bottom and I was trying to get to seconds, I had to put minutes on the top so that seconds would end up on the bottom, and then minutes would cancel so that it goes away. So if your stuff like top and bottom doesn't cancel, then you have it flipped and you need to like reverse them. So with this one, I have miles on top. I need feet. So I know that 5,280 feet are in a mile. So I want miles on the bottom so that when I do this, I can cross out, or I can just delete it. I can cross out miles, and I'm left with feet on top. Is that starting to make sense? A little bit. Okay. So then I have hours. Now, the easiest way to convert this is probably for you to go from hours to minutes and minutes to seconds, but does anybody happen to know how many seconds are in an hour?
3,600.
3,600. That's impressive. Some of my high schoolers don't know that. I have to tell them all the time how many it is. So if you know that conversion, you can do that, but I'm going to assume that you didn't know that number, and so we're going to go hours to minutes, minutes to seconds so that we can see it. So how many minutes are in an hour? 60. So I have hours on the bottom. I want them to cancel, so I'm going to put hours on the top. So 1 hour is 60 minutes. And then how many seconds are in a minute?
3,600.
60 seconds in a minute.
Both.
60 seconds in a minute. There's 3,600 seconds in an hour. So 1 minute, because I want my minutes to cancel. Okay, so I put it on top, and I'm left with, or not left with, I put the 60 seconds on the bottom. So when I go back through to check my units, I have hours on the bottom here that I'm trying to get rid of. That cancels with the hours that I wrote on top. I want seconds, so I had minutes on the bottom, and it cancels with the minutes that I wrote on top. And so the units that I'm left with are feet and seconds, which is what the instructions tell me to do. So now we have to multiply, divide, all the things. So I have 180 times 5,280 divided by 2 times, and we already said that's 3,600. So I have, again, I have zeros on the top and the bottom, so I can actually cross those out. I have 2 of them on the bottom, so I can cross out both of them on top and get rid of that to make it a little bit easier. And then you can either multiply across, or if you see what you can cancel it. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this so you in a slightly different order so you can see what I'm seeing, but if you just need to multiply across and then divide, that's fine too. So I'm going to write this as 528 times 18 over 2 times 36. Now, ignore this part. Does 18 go into 36?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
Twice. So I can get rid of that and call that a 2. So now I would have 528 divided by 2 times 2 is 4. And then I just have to go through and do that, which I would just do with general division. So 1, 4, subtract 1. Thank you. So that's equal to 132 feet per second. Now, I'm not going to give you anything super crazy that you're going to be multiplying and dividing, because that doesn't show me that you know what you're doing. If I may even just tell you to set it up and show me the conversions. So, yes.
Still, I like the question. What kind of maniac is driving 90 miles an hour?
Me.
Dang it.
Considering that's reckless driving in this state, I don't know.
My dad.
Oh, it's probably my dad.
Her mom.
Yeah. Go behind the wheel in a truck into a.
Okay. So, that looks like it for this section. Are there any questions? Nope. Cool. All right. Your problems for this section then are 3 through 25 odd. So these need to be turned in tomorrow to the box, as well as your 1.2 homework if you did not already show me or turn it in. 1 second. And then you will have, it's 2 worksheets that are front and back that you need to do in class tomorrow, and whatever you don't finish is homework. Okay? I put a note on there that I don't mind you helping each other or whatever, but you need to make sure you show your work and all of that, or I won't take it. Don't just answer the riddle at the top of the page or whatever.